We're going to lose the audience with what I'm talking about. Yeah, this is a podcast where the host goes to sleep because he's just constantly talking.
Hey guys, Rob Case here. Welcome back to the Dropping in Surf Show. I am a paddling technique coach, and my co-host, Jim Sigelnik, is a doctor of physical therapy. And this week, we have a really special guest, Nick Franco. Jim and Nick grew up together, so listening to them is an absolute blast. A little bit about Nick. Nick is a shaper, surfer, and paddler. He grew up here in Marin and shapes custom surfboards and paddleboards. All the paddleboards are hand shaped by Nick and glassed by Stretch down in Santa Cruz. Nick has been surfing for over 25 years. He was a prone paddler competitor for 12 years. He a multiple podium finisher and wins throughout California and Hawaii. He was the top American prone paddler in the Molokai to Oahu paddleboard race, which is many call as the most challenging paddleboard race in the world, and has over 20 years of shaping experience. This was recorded on February 17th, 2021 in Sausalito, California, just outside of Nick's Shaping Bay. So hope you guys enjoy it and learn something from it.
You know?
Dig a pit in your driveway?
Tiger underneath it?
Yep.
How are you on time, dude? Because it's like 3 o'clock now.
I'm good.
Are we holding you up? Or are you okay?
Yeah. Interview over. It better be over by the time I finish.
Well, you can keep drinking. This is you can have another one too. So
No.
You're being
It's like-
generous by sharing with us.
perfect drinking weather. Maybe we can dive in talking about this very beautiful gun you made me.
Oh, yeah.
So, Nick, what is this beautiful craft you made me here a few months back? This teal beast. What is it?
Yeah, so this board is the model name of this board it's called the Bear Shark, and it's basically a step-up board meant for when the waves get bigger than what you're going to be comfortable riding on your short board, but kind of a board for everything in the sense that it still performs really well even when it's a bit chunkier, like when the conditions aren't as clean, but bigger, and still just you need a lot of paddle power and the ability to sort of like plow through a lot of chop and
It sounds like
chunk.
Northern California
Yeah, it's
conditions.
like it was originally developed for Ocean Beach on those bigger, chunkier days that tend to happen a lot. So yeah.
So, what would you say is this is a 7.6? What
Yeah.
is this designed for? Like wave height? We'll talk California, like wave face height.
Oh, okay.
Like what's its sweet spot? What does it thrive in?
Oh, I would say you would probably want to, you could, depending, yeah, you'd say probably like starting at head and a half, going up to like, probably maxing out at like triple overhead.
Yep.
It would be like, so, yeah, for Ocean Beach, it would be like a bigger, like an outer bar day that's not huge.
Yep. Can I give you a truthism on this board?
I love truthisms, yeah.
This is my first board with a double leash plug.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it gives me a lot of anxiety when I see
Well,
it.
it's supposed to do the opposite. It's supposed to give you less anxiety.
Yeah, I don't
saw
know.
that double leash plug and I was like, this is not a normal board.
Yep. I was on Instagram. I saw Twiggy Baker with a triple leash plug,
Yeah.
and I almost threw up. That's how I judge boards. How many
Nice.
leash plugs do you have? That's
Based on your nausea factor.
yeah, exactly.
Nice.
No, but one thing that I personally found unique. I'm not a shaper. Obviously, you are, and I've I had the privilege of kind of watching you bud when your teenage years making boards, and
Yeah.
it's been neat to see how far you've come. I didn't know much about the bottom contour difference between gun boards and short boards. And I know you used to work with Danny Hess, and I believe a lot of your kind of like everyday boards, gravel boards, maybe even short boards had like a flat bottom. Is that fair or no?
For when?
Like when you shaped with Danny Hess in San Francisco?
No, he had all different types of bottoms depending on like board size and board type. I mean, just like everybody, he had
Okay.
different contours that
Okay.
he used. Yeah.
Okay, so the flat bottom isn't like a unique feature to.
No, the flat bottom honestly isn't used very often anymore. Which is kind of surprising because I mean, it typically is like one of the fastest bottoms there is.
But that's what you were saying. So when do you see the utility of a flat bottom? Then is that like more of a gravel board or a fish or?
Just like if you want like really fast down the line speed, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when. Yeah, the simplicity of it. It's just like it is like one of the best planing surfaces, you know.
No, it's super interesting to me because you lent me a board a couple months back. I think that was your Z Boogie model. Is that right? With the one,
Yep.
It was like
The shortboard.
Oh, the twin fin.
It was a twin fin with a single fin option box.
Yeah, that one I'm actually thinking about. That specific model is, I think, quickly becoming the Taquito.
The Taquito.
Yeah.
Oh, I like
or
that.
Taquito. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that had a flat bottom, right?
That has a flat to V. Yeah, so
Flat to V.
through the guts and then V in the tail.
Yeah.
And that sort of the V in the tail, you know, helps to facilitate loosening it up, turning it, but also because it is a wide tail, but also it does maintain sort of that flat planing surface when you're going down the line, and you tend to be on the tail of that board a bit more. So I guess you could say that has multiple flat bottoms.
Yeah. So I think what kind of you turned me on to was a bit, I don't know if it's non-conventional, but like the idea of flat bottoms, and then this gun here is like more of like a panel V. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Panel
like,
V, and that allows for speed down the line, and it allows for it to go rail to rail easier, and it helps it plane through that sort of less than ideal conditions a lot.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the boards on the market these days, from like maybe Channel Islands, Firewires, you go online, you start looking at these models, and you see a lot of like single concaves, single to double out the back, maybe a spiral V.
Yeah.
But you don't really hear a lot about like flat bottoms and panel Vs, and I thought that was pretty unique that at least on that Taquito, which was like a 5.8 twin fin, that flat bottom was utilized, because I felt like it was really, really good. Like it felt really kind of right for the type of board that is. It was really fast,
Yeah.
yet maneuverable.
Yeah, I mean, there's flat bottoms were around. They've been around forever, and they just kind of went out of fashion, I guess. I don't know, but they work really well, and the concaves work really well too. But they're for just different scenarios. You know, like the single to double, which you see a lot on a lot of boards. Those work great when the conditions are perfect. You know, when it's like perfect and glassy, and they create lift and they create drive by funneling water like through the fins, and you know, they all have their design applications where they work really well, but there's just also something, I mean, yeah, I think each board or each contour functions well in different styles of boards, and just depends on what people want to get out of their surfboard. You know?
We have such great, perfect waves here too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's all
what I love
single to
about like
double.
what you're saying. Like when you were describing this, it cuts through all that junk and that chop, and that's like 80% of the waves that we surf
Yeah,
up here.
yeah.
Well, especially in like those conditions Nick's describing at Ocean Beach, or like some of these weird spots where it's imperfect but
Yes.
bigger for a mortal like myself. You know, like you need every advantage you can get. But
What was the first board you shaped? I'm curious.
It was a 5'10". No, it was a 5'6". It was a 5-6 like modern, not modern, but like a modernized fish, twin fin with a rear stabilizer, like a little tiny stabilizer, and the thing was like about 3 inches thick, and it was probably had like an inch of rocker in it. I shaped it in the basement, or the like, not even basement. It was like below the floor. There was like a little dirt room where my mom was living, and I shaped it. Is
this a Larkspur?
It was in Santa Fe, yeah. And yeah, and I still have it actually.
Really?
I actually
That's
have
awesome.
it in here, yeah. And it's
You made a lot of skateboards though before that.
We just made everything. Like,
Yeah.
we just always made stuff.
Why? I'm just curious. Like, what
I think
was?
because things were too expensive to go buy,
Yeah.
and we just like made stuff, and
Yeah.
like we had a very small set of tools between all of us that like we just like would see something cool and be like, oh, well, let's try and make it. Whether it was like skimboards or skateboards or, I mean, who knows? I think we tried to make like, didn't we? I think we made. We like screwed some old tennis shoes to like some.
You're bringing me back, dude. So
Yeah, we
were,
screwed
like,
some old
in-
tennis shoes to like these pieces of plywood to try and slide down wet grassy
Oh my
hills
gosh,
with
I
and
did that up
stuff.
in Nevada too.
Yeah, we just did like I don't know. We were just always making stuff. So
It's really like it's been neat to see your evolution of like seeing you go from middle school wood shop and being curious, making things like skimboards and skateboards.
I never even took wood shop
Oh,
actually.
I thought you not.
No, I've
you
never-
didn't wear
I've
in
never
Michigan. So
been in a
you,
wood
you
shop
were like
class.
a prodigy then. You didn't even need formal training. You know, because
Oh,
a
no.
little backstory, like in middle school, Nick made longboard skateboards. This was like when
Oh,
Sector
that's-
9
Yeah.
was like, you know, it was really popular, but
Uh-huh.
his boards were unique because he would paint them and you would put sugar, I think, in the varathane,
Yeah, to make
right?
them grippy.
For grip, right?
Yeah.
And then I had more a formalized training in a woodshop class taught by a guy named Mr. Grimes. And then I got a little jealous or a little motivated, maybe is a better word, and started making my own boards that I think were inferior to Nick's. And
I disagree.
I don't know. I had some
Longboard.
help too.
Longboard
Yeah, longboard
skateboards.
skateboards. Yeah, but you know,
Yeah, because we didn't know how to put bend in them.
Please tell
Yeah.
me you guys still have those.
I have one.
I have
lying
one
around,
somewhere.
maybe one or two at my mom's house. Maybe I can.
I think one day we need to do a trial.
Yeah. Well.
they probably both ride the same because they're flat.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly. And the
3
trucks
feet long.
and the trucks are all crooked. And,
Yeah, but at least Nick's you can ride barefoot. That was like the thing. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
if you can ride those barefoot, that was key. But to kind of see that, maybe curiosity and that evolution of your craft, you go from making your own boards at your mom's house to even going and working in with Danny Hess, who's a pretty well known, I think, shaper and craftsman, and now you're doing your own thing and making not only surfboards but really, really, really awesome prone paddle gear. So how did that transition evolve from going from tinkering around at your mom's house to paddleboards? Because not a lot of people even know about paddleboards, I would think. like,
Yeah.
in the surf community, and so if they do, they might know of like bark. Which,
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, I mean, the prone paddling thing started for me in like 2008, and it just started on like an old like 70s lifeguard board, and the idea was just to kind of be in the water and when you couldn't surf and stay fit for surfing and stuff like that. And then I've started finding out about races, and growing up in Northern California, it's not necessarily like a paddling paddling haven. There's not that many people that do it, and just not that many people that know about it, and it's prone paddling, so it's actually like paddling using your arms on like the best way to on like a very long, thick surfboard for somebody who doesn't know, but they're their own style of craft. But yeah, I just started doing that, and then found out about some races through like the Ghost Riders down in Santa Cruz, which is a paddle club down there, and then from there they kind of turned me on to a lot more of the Southern California races and Hawaii races, and just started competing pretty heavily, and was paddling for a Southern California guy named Craig Richmond for a few years, and then after paddling for him for a few years, just kind of wanted to try making my own, and started making my own, and it kind of just turned into a little business. And
how'd the first board turn out?
The first board, the very first board actually went across the Molokai Channel.
No way.
Yeah, and it did not go very good.
Why is that?
Did it make it?
It made it. It
All
made
right,
it.
success.
But it was designed for like big ocean swell, and that year was completely flat with no wind.
I think I remember that.
And I had leading up to that race, I had been over on Oahu for about a month prior training, and was getting a lot of good downwind runs on it and having a blast. And when it came time to race, it ended up being that year was just a total flat water race, and the board that I had made was not made for flat water, and so it ended up being really slow.
So what's the difference between a flat water board and a board that's made for kind of more unruly
I would say
seas?
the main thing is the rocker profile. Like typically a flat water board, which is something that would be raced in like a Catalina Classic, which is something people may be familiar with. Those, they tend to have really flat rockers, and they tend to be made just to really knife through the water, and they're often like there's two different classes. There's like a stock class, which is 12 foot, and then there's the unlimited class, which is exactly that. You can make it as big as you want, but those Catalina boards tend to max out around 18.6 or 19 foot. Whereas a downwind board, you wouldn't want that much length, because you actually spend. And the downwind board is something that you would ride in or paddle in a Molokai to Oahu paddle race, or a Davenport downwinder, or any other of these downwind races. And the idea with those is to ride as much open ocean swell as possible, and so you want a lot more rocker, and the bottom contours of the board are a bit different, and just the distribution of volume is different. So like in a flat water race, you tend to, it's all about the motor. Obviously there's a lot of board design, but you're just like, you get into a rhythm and you go as hard as you can for however many miles that race is. Whereas a downwind race is you're really trying to maximize the amount of swell you can ride. So it's a lot more short bursts of paddling, but trying to connect open ocean swell and ride it for as long and far as possible. And if you can do that, you're going to go much faster, do much better.
And that's why you don't want as much water line in the board, because it's going to catch on the contour of the wave.
Like the less you're, burying your nose, the faster you're going to go.
Right.
So, so they're just two completely different designs. But whereas the stock boards, you tend to have one for both situations.
Right.
So, and that just means it's a 12 foot board, and some races require a weight minimum, some don't.
So. Is a 14 foot just the worst of both of those?
No. I mean, a 14 foot's like a really niche class. So it's only recognized in California, from everything I understand. Yet it's pretty much there usually is a 14 foot division in races, but like in Hawaii, they're just considered an unlimited. So which puts you at a major disadvantage
Yeah.
generally. But like, they like a good differentiation with the stocks and the 14s. It's a fixed fin generally, whereas when you get into the unlimiteds, you usually have a kick tiller, which just because you have so much length of board, it helps to keep you moving in the direction you want to go without having one shoulder completely fall off.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess I'm not experienced enough as Nick to like know the nuances of riding open ocean swell versus flat water. Like I've done 0 races.
Yeah.
I've ridden this for, I don't know when I got this from you, maybe 4 years ago. It was right before your son was born, I think.
I think it was longer than that. You've had it for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 12-foot stock, and pretty much I take it in the bay, and it's been great for getting exercise, but I haven't like done a ton of open ocean and experienced like maybe the need for rocker. So, but that makes a lot of sense. Just like a surfboard, if you got something flat that's going in a curve, more length is just going to foul you up. So that's
and the board you've got one of the original stock boards, and it actually does have a fair bit of rocker to it, but it kind of, the rocker gets accentuated in that first 4 feet from the nose to like just ahead of your chest, and then it tends to, the rocker relaxes through the tail, so it's sort of meant to be able to be used in both.
So how do you model that like as a shaper of these things? Because like with surfboards, it's like there's so many designs and people have done like a single to double and this rocker and that rocker so many times. Like, was this all trial and error? Did you have role models or
it's interesting,
mentors?
When I by no means am the first to do what I'm doing. Like there's been lots of people who have, I guess in the paddle world, which is a small world, there have been quite a few shapers who have done all kinds of different variations. But in general, the paddleboard has kind of stuck to one design through, the past 50 plus years. And I was just kind of looking at everything that was out there and just kind of thought there might be something different that would work. And so I just started experimenting. And it was also good to, when I paddled for that guy, Craig Richmond, he was trying new designs, wanted to try new designs, and I was willing to paddle him, which was good eye-opening experience, and so I kind of took where he, like, his sort of look at different ideas and decided to kind of follow that idea of trying something new that you don't see all the time,
Yeah,
and so
cool.
When I first started making them, a lot of times I would show up at races and people would ask if I was in the stand-up division because the boards just looked so completely different, But yeah, it's been sort of taking a lot of the knowledge and stuff that I've learned from shaping surfboards and riding surfboards. It's been a lot of looking at like boat design, a lot of looking at, the technologies that are in other watercrafts like windsurfers and, even some of the stand-up boards, and looking at just sort of the outrigger canoes and the surf skis and all the things that can go fast and in the water, and have been taking little bits and pieces here and there, trying to sort of figure out what works, and then just like you said, a lot of testing, a lot of trials, and a lot of errors, and but ultimately coming up with something that's become successful, but still trying new things all the time, So.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because you have surfboards that its really goal is to turn ultimately, And then you have paddleboards, which is goal is to just go straight and fast.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part, and they're
Yeah.
totally different goals in my mind. And I think you've done a pretty good job with both, which is pretty amazing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so you've done the M2O how many times?
8 times.
And it's all been on your own gear?
No, 6 on my own.
Okay.
2 on Richmond stock boards. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And was it 2017 you were the first American to finish?
Yeah.
Was that on your own gear?
Yeah, that was on.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, that was a good year. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm just really intrigued by that because, like, the people that finished ahead of you were, like, pro Aussies, yeah?
Yeah.
And what kind of gear were they riding?
All varied. They have a few shapers down in Australia and New Zealand that they were paddling, and then a few of them were on Barks, who's a shaper down in Southern California, and and then there was me. So
I just love that story. It's like this underdog craftsman comes out of California. Like
I'm on my own board.
Yeah,
sucker.
like making his own gear, finishing first. What was that experience like? Was the interest in your boards? Did it go up significantly after that? People were curious.
I think the curiosity went up. Yeah. It's interesting. Like paddleboards are, for most people, paddleboards are kind of like a lifetime purchase, and because it's, all these races that we do, it's for fun mostly. Like the Molokai race, which is like, along with the Catalina race, they're like the biggest distance races in the world right now. But like, the Molokai prize purse is like $3,000, and that's for like the first guy, and like the rest of us spend, at least that just to get there.
Right. You gotta fly there. You
Yeah.
gotta fly your board there. You gotta get
Exactly.
a boat crew.
Exactly. I mean, it's like
So
yeah. So we just do this. It's something we do for fun. But so like a lot of people, most everybody's supporting themselves.
Right.
There's a few people that might have like a T-shirt sponsor or something, but
Sure.
like, or they're like surf guys that have their surf sponsors that they bring over or whatever. But like, so for most people, they're buying a paddleboard, and the paddleboard's not a cheap thing to buy,
Right.
just based on the materials and the construction of them, and the the amount of work it goes into them. So most people buy a lifetime board. Like they'll buy one. It's not like surfboards where you have a whole quiver.
Right.
Like those of us who are lucky enough to have like a flat water and a downwind and maybe a stock board, all like that's
pretty good.
that's big time.
big time, you know. So like, yeah, if I didn't make them, there's no way I'd be able to have.
Yeah.
It
all
reminds
those.
me of one of my favorite Winter Olympic sports, curling. I mean, aside from the completely different physical aspects of it.
Yeah.
But if you watch
This
the
is
curlers,
way better than curling, though.
if you watch the curlers, it's
I
like,
don't know, maybe not.
this is Jim Sigelnik from Minnesota.
Yeah.
He owns his own pizza parlor,
Right.
and
Totally.
they're there
Yeah.
just because they love curling.
Right.
But the main difference, other than the physical, is the mental aspect of having to paddle, especially that flat water year at M2O.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
how hard is it to, like, mentally make it? Like, physically, everyone's fit. Everyone's there
Yeah.
for a reason. But I think the difference maker is how strong are you mentally to suffer through those 32 miles or whatnot. Like,
Yeah,
what
I mean,
goes through
it's
your head?
definitely it's definitely a suffer fest. I mean, we always like to joke that prone paddling's like surfing without all the fun parts.
Yeah. And
It's-
especially that year you didn't get to ride waves on the
Yeah,
M2O crossing.
yeah. I mean, that's like the beauty of like for me personally, like my passion in the paddling world is the downwind races, because it really is like it's a combination of of surfing and navigation and being able to just be out in the open ocean and catch these open ocean swells, and it's so fun. And but even on those big, even when those races are big and fast and so much fun, there's still a lot of suffering. Yeah.
So how do you where do you go in your head when you hit that first? I mean, there's several suffer points, and then you probably get your second, third, fourth wins.
Yeah.
Like, how do you kind of strategize in your head, or you just?
I mean, the trick is, like, I think more than anything, and I know I've talked to other people in this similar who, have done the same races or have done marathons or whatever it is that they do, but like, it's all like over the years I've sort of found that it's the ability to like really hit rock bottom or bonk and then be able to come out of it. And sometimes that happens multiple times in a race, like where you just have to you really have to know that how as miserable as you might be feeling in that moment, like you can come out of it, and you can like get beyond it, even though it doesn't seem like it at the time. And you go through like so many like peaks and valleys, like where there'll be moments where you're feeling amazing and you're like, you're going really fast and you're connecting, or in a flat water sense, you're just in a rhythm and you don't even feel it, and you're like passing people and everything's great and you're just you're having a blast, and then like it can turn on a dime and you don't even expect it, and you just everything hurts. And you like, for me personally, like I'll go through these moments of like, you are the worst person in the entire planet. Like,
That's amazing, man.
You're just like, you don't belong here. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
everything you did leading up to this was wrong. Like, and you just go super dark.
Yeah.
To where it's like, you're like, you should just like jump off this board and just swim down to the bottom and stay there.
Wow.
And then somehow you just keep going and you break through that and it starts again. And
So just to give you a little background on Nick, and he won't admit this because he's too modest, but when we were in like high school, Nick was running like a 4-something mile. Like, he's very fit. He's very like capable. And
yeah.
So like to hear you say that is like, man, I would be like off in the shipping lane, like just never to be seen again. If that's what this guy's saying.
Ring that bell.
Bang,
I'm out.
Like,
I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. So what pulls you out of that? Is it more like physical training, or is it mental, psychological that kind of snaps you out of that dark place?
I mean, I think it's a few things. I mean, you definitely have to put in the training. I mean, like if you just want to finish, then, you can do like, I think it's really funny. I've got a friend, and he lives out in Colorado, and he's done a bunch of different endurance races, whether it's like ski races or,
Curling?
No curling, ski races or
checking.
marathons or so those Spartan races or whatever it is. And he loves to like not train very hard and then see how many people he can pass and just like
One of
rub
those
it
guys.
in. Yeah, which is hilarious, and he loves it. But like, if you like really want to do well, and again, it's just for like your own personal bragging rights, because you're not going to become, nobody's getting rich off this stuff, or nobody's like making a career out of it, really. You really have to focus on putting in the training, and it's a year-round training when you're competing. And so I think knowing that you've like put in the work, and really done everything to put you in the position to do well, that helps to keep you focused. And then just knowing, like, I mean, I hope I've been able to compartmentalize it properly, but I've always been a really competitive person when it comes to athletics. And so like that sort of competitive drive was always something to help break me out of, or just to help keep me going even when I felt like I didn't really want to,
That's why your skateboard business was more successful than mine in middle school. That competitive drive, I think.
Well, I hope that it stays in the athletic arena,
That's amazing. So do you think what intrigues you about these races? Is it testing yourself mentally,
definitely.
physically? Is it testing your gear? Is it just being in the competition? Or is it just fun riding downwind? Or is it all the above?
Sure, all of the above. I mean, I think for me, it was an extension of surfing that, because you can't surf every day, even when you have no obligations. There's days where there's no waves or it's junky out, and we were talking about it earlier, like fishing, diving, paddling, swimming, body surfing. I've all those things. It's like any way to stay in the water was the ultimate goal, still is the ultimate goal, to be able to be. So it was always fun to have something to do, and then with the paddling thing, finding that competitive outlet.
It's okay.
No worries. Yeah, finding that competitive outlet was really intriguing to me and fun, and there's the paddling community is a great community. I've made some lifelong friends out of that community, and it's just it was, and just the thing that I loved about the long distance paddles and races was really getting way out in the ocean under your own power, and being able to see places that a lot of people will never see, and just be able to experience conditions and wildlife and just that feeling of knowing that there are times where you can't see land, and it's pretty amazing to be
That is amazing.
in a place like that under your own power, and know that you're responsible for getting back, so
it's scary.
It's
man.
fun challenge.
What's come up out there? What's been some of the gnarlier things you've seen? Has it been wildlife situations?
I've been completely encircled by blue whales in the Monterey Bay.
Wow.
With no one else around.
Blue whales are 100 feet long, aren't they?
Yeah, they're huge.
Wow.
They're real big.
Yeah. No, I had an experience where a humpback came up to me and it freaked me out, and it was 20 feet long.
So that was really cool. I mean, I actually just had to stop paddling and sit up and just watch the show for 10 minutes.
That's amazing.
There was probably 8 or 10 of them just swimming in a circle around me. So that I've seen. I was down paddling where was it? Between Ventura and or I guess between down south of Ventura, and had a mother gray whale with her baby swim 2 feet underneath me. That was pretty cool. Yeah, we've seen sharks. We've seen all kinds of seals, sea lions, elephant seals. All kinds of tons of dolphins.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I was 100 feet off of the starting line of the Molokai race, and I got nailed in the face by a flying fish. And it missed my eye by a half an inch. I'm really glad.
You didn't see that as a sign that the flying fish.
He's you
just
need
turn
more
around and just go back.
You need more rocker in the nose. I'm gonna slap you.
Yeah, exactly. So just all kinds of stuff, and then just seeing places on the coast that you just can't get to by road or just lots of really cool stuff.
No, I mean I think we all share that common thread with surfing and exploring and traveling and finding little nooks in the coast, and they're being in Northern California, you can surf here or there and surf with 100 people, or you could like drive 40 minutes that way and surf by yourself and be scared.
Yeah.
And like sometimes that's really cool, you know, to take that calculated risk and prove yourself wrong and get a little shook. And I think that could be a really healthy thing. And I'm like really in a sense proud of you for like putting yourself out there and having those experiences. How's that changed now being a father? Because you have almost a 4-year-old son now.
3.5, yeah.
3.5,
yeah, you know, it's definitely changed. I changed things.
Are you as risky or?
Well, lately I've just been working a lot.
Right.
So I guess you could say not as much. But
I thought you were getting a little chubby. No, I'm just joking.
No, I did.
You can take him now, Jim.
What's your mile time now? Dude?
Yeah. Should we go do it right now? Yeah. Let's do that. No, I did. So my last Molokai was in 2018, and my son had been born that year. He was born in 2007, like the end of 2017, and so at like 2 months old, I like had to start training again, and it was. I did it. I like did the whole season and raced and did okay. But the time commitment just was so intense. I mean, usually during peak training times, I was, doing 4+ hours a day on top of working full time. Mm-hmm. And so after that season ended, it was kind of like, okay, I need to start being a dad. So, so yeah, really I had to step away from paddling for the past couple of years. I've still been building boards, but as far as like the being really serious about training and racing, I've had to sort of slow it down a little bit. So, but I still get out for like, I've been doing some night paddles, which has been kind of fun. So
up north.
No, down here.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, just kind of
just out here in the bay and
yeah. So just occasionally I'd jump out and run along the waterfront right in Sausalito where it's pretty. So yeah, so I've been doing that occasionally and just like, but yeah, more just focusing on working and being a dad right now and hopefully getting him in the water sooner than later. So
he's at that age.
Yeah, we're working on
pick and choose,
swimming and getting comfy.
Oh,
it's cold.
They need to swim first.
What's that?
Are they supposed to swim first?
I think so.
Oh, because I got my son like not swimming. I just figured you put a life vest in him. He's
Just
good.
stay on the board, kid.
Yeah. The life vest like as underpants. Yeah. Just flipped around.
Yeah, I just hook him like there's a strap on the life vest.
Yeah.
And he's on the front of the board and I'm on the back and we just belly ride at Bolinas.
Nice.
Yeah, and
That's
a couple
awesome.
other secret spots.
Yeah.
It's funny, we're at this local surf shop, Proof Lab here.
Yeah.
And one of the employees comes up. I have my son Gavin with me, and he goes, "Gavin, you surf?" And Gavin goes, "Yeah." Gavin's 4.
Nice.
And he goes, "Where do you surf?" And Gavin looks at me, like he's asking me my spot look, because we go to this place that's in the bay, and you're not. It's our secret spot.
You've already
and
said too much. Yeah.
And I was like, "It's okay, buddy. You could tell him."
Yeah.
And he told him the beach, but he cleared it by me.
Hey,
I thought that was pretty cool.
You're raising
that is so
kid,
Marin.
Kid can't swim, but he's like fearless in the ocean.
That is so Marin, Jim.
I know. Well, I was
trained
on the
him
cover
well.
of Marin magazine one
Trained
year.
him well.
Were you really?
Don't give away the
stats.
stats.
Yeah. It was Trish and I got married and at the Mountain Home Inn in Mill Valley. I don't know. I should.
It's because of Trish. It wasn't because of you.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we got we were on the cover of Marin magazine because I had known a contact that was an editor for the Marin magazine. And so
you're like, I think I should be on the cover.
No, that was like a total surprise, but like I totally finagled the deal. I was like, I talked to the Mountain Home Inn. I was like, look, I know a guy, and we're gonna get you some play right now, and you're gonna hook up this deal, right, on the wedding. And so We got some perks, like
Nice.
I think like we were able to go there for our 1-year anniversary and stay.
Is the statute of limitations up? Can you be saying this on
Well,
50,000 watts? Or,
or
how many watts are we
let's
on?
just let's just say if we go there right now, I could get us free coffee.
What?
Yeah.
Let's
so,
go.
Yeah. So Yeah, but Nick, kind of switching gears back to boards, and kind of tying it into talking about kids. I had a moment with Gavin when after he was born, where I went out and surfed some bigger waves, and I was like, I had a lot of anxiety. Like,
oh yeah, sure.
Like I wouldn't call myself a big wave surfer per se. Like I'm not surfing Mavericks or anything like that, but like surfed some big waves, and I had more anxiety because I was like kind of worried.
Because it's not all about you anymore.
Yeah.
It's
So
like
I came back.
You got to
and
start thinking about other people. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Came back and back to my house and was very emotional. I kind of hung it up, and then ordering this gun from you or semi-gun Bear Shark model. It was kind of like me wanting to take a risk again, because I kind of went through this mental kind of thing where it was like I don't want to hold back every aspect of my life. I want to take calculated risks. I want my son to see his father like doing something he likes to do and challenging himself like in a mindful way without being reckless.
Right.
Because that's how I want him to pursue life. Right. And so this board, that was kind of like the whole catalyst for me coming to you and
nice. Yeah.
And ordering it. And so, I've only surfed it once because I am super cautious when it comes to being in bigger surf. But I will say it felt really, really good. It felt very stable, and I really enjoyed it. And I think you did just an all-around beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of art, from the thick stringer to the paneled V bottom to the color and even the glass job. Everything about it's just beautiful, man.
Oh, thanks. Your royalty checks are in the mail.
Well, yeah. Well, I get free
Jim,
coffee.
How did you set up the fins when you?
I did a quad.
Backwards.
Yeah, backwards. One backwards, one forward. I put 5
He's
fins
been paying attention to the most wave storms that go by. And he's like, let's do it like that.
Fins?
Yeah.
So
No, my buddy actually gifted me a set of stretch quad fins.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're kind of smoke color, like glass, and really stiff. And I went with a quad on my session, and it felt really good.
When you shape a board, do you think about the fin setups that people are going to be using?
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean that's just part of the meeting that I have with each client. Like so none of my boards, that you can't like get my boards in a shop anywhere, just because I just work on a custom basis. So if you come and order a board with me, then we have a full discussion about what it is that you're looking to get, what you're hoping to do with your surfing with the board that we're going to make. And most times it's even as is involved as templating it and cutting it out with the client, so that way they can actually see what it is that we're talking about, and they have the chance to say, yes, this is exactly what I want, or no, let's pull the tail in, no, let's do something that's too narrow, or whatever. It gives them the opportunity to participate in what they're getting, and also get exactly what they want out of it. Hopefully.
Do you shape? Are there certain boards that you're gonna shape that you just need to ride it thruster, or you just need to ride quad?
Definitely. And this is all of like my recommendations are coming off of my own personal preference and my idea of what I'm making at the time, and so it's just a recommendation. But yes, there are some boards that I think excel as a quad, or I think excel as a thruster more than others. Or a twin. Yeah, sure. Or like when I'm making longboards, like I'm gonna unless unless you specifically request it. Like, I'm gonna make your longboard a single fin, because like I just kind of think that's the way longboards should be, single fins. Like, if you are adamant about making it a 2+1 setup, then like I'll do that. But like I have per model, I have an idea of what I think works best. Again, that can be refuted by anyone, but
yeah. So you have a good amount of models on your website, and they cover like you said, longboard, and you got some gravel boards and high performance boards, and like even like a glider looking thing, which looks, I think that might be the next board I want to order from you, by the way.
the glider. Which one's the glider?
It's the Husky.
Oh yeah. So that's actually
like
not at all a glider, but
that's not a glider.
No.
It looks like like one of those mega fishes.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Well, that was a board I came up with a friend of mine, where we were trying to just make something that could work in any conditions, where it's like basically like we were joking, it's like the 2 to 20 foot board.
Yeah.
Like, you could ride it instead of a longboard, and you could ride it as a gun if you needed to.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, getting a gun is going to probably perform better because it's specifically suited. But like, kind of like that Husky board is supposed to be kind of like a Swiss Army knife of a.
Yeah, it looks cool. It looks really cool. How many of your clients call you up and they're like, kind of like influenced by the corporate model? Like, they're like, oh, I want a 5'8", 30 liter.
I would say most.
Yeah. And then how much of that do you have to kind of rein them in and like coach them on?
I don't actually think that reining them in is necessarily the best idea, because I think like my whole goal is to make something that's going to work for you the best. And by that, I mean, I hope that it's a board that you're going to have so much fun on it that you're going to want to go back to it. So I actually encourage people when they come to the Shaping Bay to bring previous boards, and I don't care who made them. Like, bring them, and so that way we can sort of pick them apart and see what works out of a board that maybe this was one you got, but it wasn't perfect, but what worked for you and what didn't work for you, and then we can compare it to other boards. And it's actually like, it's helpful to try to make something, because all my boards are hand shaped, so it gives me the ability to customize fully, and so I think it's actually helpful to have people bring what they've ridden in the past.
That's really
or
cool.
At least an idea of, or like a knowledgeable, or being able to speak knowledgeably about what they liked it and didn't like from previous boards. But even if you can't articulate it, it's still fine. We can work through it and figure out something that's going to work. And ultimately, like, I want something that's going to work for you. So like I try to always say, if it doesn't work for you, let's make something that does, and we'll figure it out, whether we sell it or to fund the next one, or we figure out some way to make sure that like you walk away happy, so.
Right. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about kind of the manufacturing process. Like, where do you get your foam? Who glasses your stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I get all my foam from US Blanks. And
polyester foam?
Yeah, so I use, my construction is I use polyester blanks, and they get hand shaped by me here in my Shaping Bay, and then I take them down to Santa Cruz, and they get glassed by Stretch's Glass Shop, and they do a bang up job, and I have them glassed primarily using S-cloth with entropy bioepoxy, and I just find that the combination of the polyurethane blank with the entropy lamination functions really well. They flex well. the longevity, or I guess the elasticity of the epoxy is really good. It's a slightly lower VOC, so it's just friendlier to everybody involved. Like it's easier, or it's not easier to work with necessarily. I know it can be challenging at times, but but it's better for everybody who's working with it. And it is by no means eco, but it's at least a step in the right direction.
Totally.
Using the tree sap additives. And
Do they sand it also down there?
they do, yeah. They glass and sand down there. So, and then with the paddleboards are 1 pound EPS block, like just you guys saw the blocks of foam I get, and and then those get shaped, and those, because they're 1 pound EPS, they when they're just raw foam, they're kind of like a noodle. So I've made a few different rocker beds that those actually get set into, and then they get glassed in the rocker beds using. At the minimum, I do a full 4-ounce carbon lamination, and then that carbon gets wrapped in 4-ounce S cloth, and then gets hot coated, sanded, painted, pad laid down, fin boxes put in, and like a Gore-Tex breather valve that goes in that allows the EPS to off gas.
Is that
and
what
those,
that is?
That's that plug right in front of the. Sometimes it's behind the fin box, the top fin box, which holds the water bottle cages. But yeah, and most often I do that glassing myself, just because there's so much that you have to deal with the rocker beds, and because Stretch is usually, very busy with surfboard laminations, that they have to, when I have too many paddleboards going at once, then they'll help me out, but they have to actually usually halt production on their surfboards, which can be.
He's like, not more of these things.
Yeah, so I mean sometimes they're not opposed to it, but it's just like we just have to make sure that they have the time, because they are really labor intensive to make, and they do a great job down there as well, but they just oftentimes have too much work, and so I actually like doing the glassing on the paddleboards.
Cool.
It's a fun process, and it's pretty involved.
So the rocker bed, like, what is that? You kind of push the malleable foam.
No, so basically, like, there's a rocker shaped into the blank, and then, but it won't hold the rocker on its own. Like, if you were to just put it on stands, on like shaping or glassing stands, it'll actually sort of bend around those. We're talking a deflection of like a couple inches, not like an actual. It's not like horseshoeing over them, but I basically have made these varying, like, depending on the board, it's whether it's a 12-foot bed or a 15-foot bed or an 18-foot bed, and what it is, it's like a 2 lengthwise 2x4s that then have cross member 2x4s running across it, so it basically looks like a ladder, I guess you could say, and each ladder rung has it has been shimmed to various heights, so that when you actually you just set the board on top of that sort of horizontal ladder, I guess you would say, and it's the way those shims are set up, it actually mimics the bottom contour of the board or the top contour, depending.
It's like a massive template.
A massive template that just holds. So while the epoxy is kicking in your lamination, it just holds that rocker, so that you can get a consistent rocker every time you do it. So
Very intricate.
Yeah, lots of just again, more trial and error and picking up little ideas from different.
Didn't learn
people.
that in wood shop.
No, definitely not. When does the sugar sprinkle come in?
That's a special extra detail.
That's gonna be the new pad.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us, if so, you shape out of Sausalito. We're allowed to say Sausalito, right?
Yeah.
So in our podcast, we joke about that surf spot over there. We call it Spot X.
Oh yeah.
That surf spot you and I grew up
Yeah.
going to. That's Spot X. So we can say Sausalito.
Again, you've already said too much. Yeah.
We can
Yeah,
edit
Gavin's
this.
gonna get on you, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
mean mugging you right now.
Yeah, he's gonna be so bummed out. So how do people locally in the Bay Area contact you if they want to order a board?
Yeah, the Bay Area and beyond. We're
beyond, yeah.
open, but the best way to do it is you can just go on the website, which is shearwaterpaddleboards.com, and there's a contact page, and you can just shoot me an email, and then from there, we can set up a meeting and have you come down, or a phone meeting, or if you don't want to do any of that, you can just send me dimensions, and and so that's probably the easiest way, because that sort of, the email gives me an idea of what you're looking for, and then we can talk on the phone and figure out exactly what you're looking for based off of that information.
What's turnaround time on a prone? How long does that
Generally
take?
like 3 months. That's pretty fast, because I have to.
Very
it takes a few weeks to
labor-intensive.
order the foam, and then it's it's usually about, I would say, anywhere from 8 to 12 hours of actual shaping time, which is like, there's just a lot of foam to hog out of them, and you can only do it for, I find you can only do it for so long before you have to step away and then come back and look at it again and see those bumps that maybe when you're looking at the rail line of a 12 to 18 foot board, it's a lot different than looking at a 6 foot surfboard where your eye can play tricks on you. So it's good to step away sometimes and come back and clean it up. And then one thing with another thing that I try to do with the paddle boards is, for a custom board, I actually take measurements of the individual's body, and in order to make the body well or the knee well fit to you as a paddler, because I think that you end up spending so much time in sitting either on your knees or on your chest on these boards that you need to be as comfortable and stable as possible. So by taking a series of measurements and making like a body map, I'm able to grind out a well that is specific to you and makes it so that you can focus more on paddling and less on trying to find a comfortable spot to be.
That's
cool.
badass.
That explains why my knees hurt, because this was a board I think you made for yourself.
This was what I made for a guy who's like 6'6".
Oh, that explains.
Yeah.
The board's very, very comfortable. Yeah.
And what about the short boards or surfboards?
The surfboards, I generally could do it anywhere between like a month, 1 to 2 months is the turnaround, just depending on when you order. I get blank deliveries usually every 3 weeks. So, if you get me at the right time, then we can have your blank come and I can turn it around pretty quick. But sometimes it also just depends on, what's going on with, if the glasser's super busy, then it might take a little longer. If the glasser's not as busy, then it'll happen faster. So, but the one thing I really try and do is, like, no matter what's going on with boards, I really try to keep everybody updated as much as possible. So, I'll let you know when the blank comes in. I'll let you know when it's been shaped, and then when it goes to the glasser and when I'm picking it up. And I always kind of welcome, like, give me a call. If you're wondering where your board is, like, give me a call and I'll let you know where it is, what's going on with it. But I try and stay ahead of that, so that way when, it's been 2 or 3 months and you still haven't seen your board, at least you know why, so, because it's just one of those things. Like, I'd love to be able to turn boards around in 2 weeks, but it's just not always realistic. So,
Yeah.
but,
Quality over quantity.
Yeah.
hopefully,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the challenge with being a consumer and like working with a shaper, because like I think a lot of consumers are like, okay, I'll go on Firewire, get this board, bang, I got it.
yeah,
Or I'll
because
get
it's already
this-
been made,
right.
or like you can go to your shop and like pick one off the rack, and it's like instant gratification,
for
and
sure.
that's great, and that's awesome, and like hopefully that works every time, but it's sometimes, yeah, I mean, it's just like it's just the reality of it is that, you know, when you're making something by hand, sometimes it takes a little longer.
No,
so.
absolutely. But I think one of the benefits of finding a local shaper like yourself is, I would argue, it's probably more environmentally sound, even if you're using, you know, PU foam or, you know, when you consider shipping from.
I got to be
China
honest with you. I
China.
don't think anything about surfing,
Well,
making surfboards is environmentally sound.
I think I agree with that. But if we started to like,
like, I
be
think
honest,
this whole thing of like we're all like
but this eco
eco-friendly
model
is
of
kind
like,
of ridiculous.
you know, these boards come from Thailand and they're eco-friendly. I don't know.
Yeah, true. I mean, I don't know. Like the overseas stuff definitely puts a bigger footprint on it for sure. But
But it looks
I
like
would s-
wood.
Yeah, it does look like wood.
I
but,
would say that pretty much the surf industry is pretty toxic in general.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think as a consumer,
As a
though,
willing participant in it.
yeah, no, wetsuits, the whole thing, you
Yeah.
know. But I think as a consumer, one of the benefits of working with you over the years, when you were with Danny Hess and now doing your own thing, is I've had the chance to ride a good number of your boards, and it's really neat to kind of ride them, experience them, talk about them, get feedback, and pick up a thing or two on almost every board.
Yeah.
You know, so having that ongoing exchange, I think, can really kind of do something for your surfing that is kind of a learning experience and can help push you to the next level.
Yeah, plus it's nice to be able to like, you know, it's nice to be able to like meet and talk with the
sure.
person that's making your board, and like for me it's nice to meet the customer and be able to like really try to understand what they're hoping to get out of a certain board, and try and it's a like fun challenge to try and like make that happen. And it's great to be able to work with, you know, really good people like the people down at Stretch who do a really amazing job of glassing and really make these boards come to life. Because, you know, I'm only half the game. Like, you know, I send a shape board down to them, and they really make it happen, you know. And I don't think that enough people sort of give that credit to the glassers and the sanders and the finishers and those guys. You know, they do so much behind the scenes. But yeah, and just to be able to have that human connection in a way that like we don't often get nearly as much as anymore. And it's good. It's good to meet everybody and hopefully have them be happy with what they walk away with. So,
Absolutely, man.
yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, Nick, thanks so much for taking the time and talking about your crafts, your prone boards, your array of surfboards. I'm a little biased because I've known you for, how old are we? 30 years?
We've known each other for like probably 30 years now.
Yeah, and like like I said, I'm biased. I've seen you go from making skateboards to this, and I'm proud of you, and I'm honored
thanks.
to know you and ride your boards, and I hope others locally and beyond can experience some of the crafts that you've made and hit you up. So
Yeah.
thanks for taking the time, man.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me talk to you guys.
Of course.
Yeah.